first week was cool, and it felt a little bit. Cult is unfair. When you get 800,000 people to watch it, it's more than a cult, and you're Peyton Manning. Like, you don't have a cult following. You have a legit following. We all know who Peyton Manning is. Peyton Manning is known by women. Like, he is a universal American, kind of rock star, famous athlete guy. He transcends, sports. But 800,000 views, pretty cool. But the other, I think the main broadcast got like 15 million, but it was also on ABC and ESPN. This week, ESPN only.
We're glad you're watching this video. Like it and subscribe to our channel.
Do you know that stats show 50% of you are not subscribed to our channel? Go subscribe.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America.
And check out our podcast in the description below.
Do it. Lewis, my guy, I don't even go to ESPN. I just go to ESPN2. And I watched the majority of the game. I was in the office, so I only got one TV. I just had it on ESPN2. And those guys. And they do a good job now. I think they've kind of gotten a rhythm. They just show the game the whole time. They keep a lot of those guys like we are right now in the little boxes. So I can just watch the game. I guess if it was the Niners or something and we were really going to lock in, when a guy gets hurt, you don't get the sideline. You don't quite know what's going on the little details. But it's like I can have Twitter open and I can follow everything else, right?
Yeah, I do think it'd be harder on a game where you really wanted to lock in on. But I watch predominantly the Manning broadcast on Monday night. And, the Gronk, even though Gronk's Wi-Fi was a little wonky.
You got to get the Ethernet cord and plug it in.
You got to get the plug.
At least his audio was good.
It's just Gronk.
Yeah.
But the Mannings, you said this to me, like you said to me, you thought Peyton really brought it. I agree. I didn't think of it in those terms. The way I thought it watching him early was Peyton's heartbeat was probably as high as it's been, or his heart rate, as high as it's been since he played football. I bet his heart rate when he's doing that is higher than when he plays golf. I bet it's higher than when he played the money game on TNT. I bet his heart rate doing that Monday Night Football, watching him Packers-Lions, felt like he took it up a notch from the first week. And he felt like a guy that missed it, but not missed it in like man, I wish I could be out there way. Just, it felt to me like that broadcast gave him something that he can't get anywhere else. And for that reason, I would not be surprised at all to see him make a jump to a full-time analyst role.
I think you explained me this. We were talking off air when we had Staley on a couple weeks ago. And I'm not comparing Joe Staley necessarily to Peyton Manning, but I think similar. You spend your entire life, and then once you get to the pros and become a good player, there is this rhythm to your life, right? The calendar is very set. The season, the ebbs and flows of the week, and then the highs of, now Peyton played on consistently more good teams, but when that good team, there can't be much like being a good football player and being on a good team in the NFL, right? It's a sport that's that way. Like even in the NBA, of 82 games, unless you're like the Warriors, once KD shows up, or the Heatles or Michael Jordan, the Bucks are playing in like 25 duds a year, where it's like, you're in Minnesota, no one cares. Just there's a juice to an NFL game. No matter every game, that high, there is no, like, we're like, how do we get Joe on? And it's like, yeah, I'll come on. Like, and I see him kind of reposting some stuff, doing the TV. I bet he feels like he's got a little more purpose. And he was only away for, a year. Peyton's obviously the Hall of Fame now. He's been retired 5 years. It's got to be cool to just take a deep breath. I know I'm not comparing myself as a football guy, but just once you leave the NFL and just do a normal person job, which they don't even have to do jobs, like they have enough money. When I just had to do a job, it's just so much different. There's nothing quite like that. There is that. I still have some anxiety about the anxiety I used to have just in certain situations in the NFL, in the office, that wasn't even, I had no control over it. Sometimes it didn't even have to be with me, but just being in that area. I remember going back to Fresno State, and it's hard to replicate that, I think, for football guys. It's why a lot of them, even the best players, I think sometimes in other sports, maybe they have, and maybe it happens in football too, they financially need it. I think it's pretty clear, Peyton Manning financially does not need this at all, and Joe's a good example. No chance. They're not doing this for the money.
You and I were talking like, how much is NBC Sports Bay paying Joe to make it worth his while? It was like, well, I think all you need is to pay him enough so he understands that you respect his time, right?
Yeah.
But there's no amount of money you could pay him that like makes it worth him doing something he doesn't want to do.
100%. And I think there's a juice to these. Like, how do you ever get that back? You know, when you hear some of these stories about like, this guy has become a fantastic businessman. Elway owned all these dealerships, made double the money he made even while he played. I bet if you ask John, he's like, there was nothing like, 92 Monday Night Football Week 12 Raiders, right? And I see it, like when I see Andy on the sideline and that Harbaugh on Sunday night, they wouldn't give up that juice they get on game day for.
Giving up play calling has to be so difficult.
Yeah, Andy's addicted to. Like he likes it too much, right? There's no need.
That goes back to these numbers. Like they more than doubled their Monday Night Football viewership. I was listening. I hopped in the car the other day, and last night, before the game, or like as we were leading up to the game, I was coming home from the grocery store, and the radio was on, which is never the case. It's usually XM, or I'm listening to a podcast on my headphones, and it was a music station.
The G-Wagon doesn't have Wi-Fi connect?
No, haven't got it set up yet. And the guy on the radio dude, he's like, coming up next, Katy Perry. He's like, tell me which pull up right now at 817 FM. Which Monday Night Football broadcast do you guys watch? I like the Mannings. All right, here's the music. I was like, whoa. Quick moment to tell you to get in our DraftKings game. It's linked below. Play any game, really. Use the code HAM when you sign up at DraftKings.
Do you want to gamble? I know I do. And where I do it, mybookie.ag, promo code HAM1.
This is not a music. This is a music channel on Sports Channel. This guy's talking about the Manning broadcast. So for Peyton.
That was kind of a good John Lund you did with the Katy Perry.
John Lund.
He can always do a good announcer, a guy, a DJ, someone else. He's good at that.
John Lund, man, what a guy. What a great
up next, Katy Perry headed down to Vegas. But first, Peyton Manning and Eli tonight, ESPN2. Can't wait.
Oh, it's the caboose pistol. What a guy. But Manning knows a lot of people are watching, John. And that has to fuel his fire, right? Like Peyton, that's the one thing John Elway could do some hostile takeover of 9 car dealerships. No one's there watching it.
I had this thought. I watched some of your game on Saturday, the Oregon game, and just all broadcasts are just, they sound like they've always sound. It's just a
play-by-play guy and an analyst.
And an analyst.
Yeah.
And you guys call the action, they give their takes. Where Peyton, and this is where I think it really resonated fast, does have like a radio meets podcast kind of vibe going, where it's like the two guys, and then they bring in guests. It's a double whammy. It's somewhat of a time filler, but the guys are so famous. Like, there's not a guest they had on that you and I wouldn't immediately have on, right? I mean, Brett Favre, Gronkowski, Travis Kelce,
McAfee.
Yeah, I mean, they get good guests, and it's probably only going to improve. People are going to want to be on there, but it is just very loose. Now, again, there is a role that you play when you're calling a game. I know what's going on. Hey, Mostert, he's out. Like, I don't know any of that shit. When those guys are...
when it's, this is where it gets tough. It's like, God, fourth quarter, tie game, 2-minute drill coming. I want to know what Peyton's saying. But I also, part of this thing is just emotion. Like, and that's where the regular broadcast gives you just some of the rhythm and the crowd and the emotion. And
like, could you call a game half-ass, like half podcast style, half calling it, or would it be impossible?
Yes.
You could?
Absolutely. I don't think most people can.
Well, they can.
If I'm not to be it, but I like bad games for that reason. Early in my career, early in the play-by-play career, I realized like calling a bad game it's a really difficult skill.
Yeah.
Now, you like John, if that game was 40-7, I could be talking about anything and you wouldn't be watching. So I'm not going to pretend like the play-by-play guy can like make somebody. That's where Peyton's unique, and that's where Romo gets paid, and like those guys, like will I watch Monday Night Football next week in the fourth quarter if it's a blowout? Well, I might if Peyton's just telling some stories and Gronk is there.
Well, for example, Monday night, this upcoming, like last night was terrible. So it was an easy one, right? It's like they ended up, even though the game was tight, You just never thought the Lions were going to win, even though that one guy, did you see that had the parlay for like $800,000 and he took the Lions?
Yes. I thought somebody tagged me and was like, look at Middlecoff.
Well, someone hit me in a DM, like, even if you were going to do the craziest parlay ever, how would you end on that? Like, that's
Just
like,
pick the easiest games, the things you believe 15 times. Maybe the person believed.
But like this week is a big week, right? I would imagine the Monday night football ratings when these two teams have playoff aspirations. I know it's early in the season, but they're both 1-1. The Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. Like there's going to be a lot of people watching that game. Historically, you'd be like, I want to lock in. This is a real game. Without question. I mean, I'm going to those guys. I actually think if you had to guess, does that number hit the twos this upcoming week?
I think this number is only going to keep getting bigger.
Yeah. But let's say the Niners were playing and you wanted to lock in. Would you still watch it? Because I think I still would.
You think you still would?
Because I can follow the injuries and
tough.
stuff. I can follow the injuries and stuff on Twitter. Now, where if he has on a guest, who's not really doing it for me, I might change it back over. But, yeah, you're right. I don't know. We'll see when I come to that road. But the games are going to get better on Monday Night Football. And if I stay, I think it's pretty easy to stay. Like, I want to hang out. It's like, people, why do you guys listen to us? It's like, we like your show. We like hanging out. Why do you listen to certain people? Like, I want to hang out with Peyton Manning. I had to hang out with Peyton Manning for 3 hours a week.
Yeah. And Eli's, and Eli. Eli's
I would hang out with Eli in a heartbeat, even though he's a little quieter. I mean, shit. Both those guys seem like so much fun.